Hello everybody and welcome to Teldo's Daily number 3. And today I'm going to be talking about the Flamethrower. Yesterday I talked about the bomb kit and explained why it's my favorite kit. And the Flamethrower comes really close to it. Actually, I'm not even sure. Flamethrower might even be my favorite kit. I love both of those kits and I'm going to explain to you today why. So first of all, I'm going to show you the skills again. I'm just going to explain a tiny bit about it, what they do in general, and then afterwards I will go a little bit more into an advanced explanation about the skills, and will explain a few neat little tricks with those skills. So first of all, we have the Flame Chat. It's a normal auto attack. It deals a decent amount of direct damage and a decent amount of conditioned damage. It's a good mix. It scales pretty well with both of those. So it deals some direct damage, and at the end of it, it applies some extra burning tactic. The other burning that you see there, the longer duration burning, is from the trait Incendiary Powder that you get here. But yeah, the last tick that you get there, the tiny tick, is from the Flame Chat, and it's not too much damage, but it can be pretty useful. And I think the Flame Chat is a pretty good ability, and it can be useful in many situations. I'm going to explain to you later why. Then we have the Flame Blast. It shoots this little fireball that explodes. You can shoot it at max duration, and it will just explode at max duration, or you can detonate it yourself a little bit earlier if you press the button again. This skill scales only with power. It's completely useless with condition builds. I can't bring it into my rotation at all with the condition build, unfortunately, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore, really. It also has some bug issues, like if you hit a wall, for example, just nothing happens and it gets stuck in that detonation thing, and then after a while it just releases itself again. I'm not a huge fan of it. It feels pretty clunky and it's just not that great. Then we have the Air Blast, which makes this Flamethrower so amazing and so unique. It's a 15 seconds cooldown AoE knockback. It's a cone effect, just like the Flamethrower, and I forgot to mention that cone effects usually only hit 3 targets instead of 5. Normally the AoE limit is 5 and cone attacks hit 3 targets. Air Blast is a knockback. It only has a super short range. It's also a cone effect here, but it, like the radius in which you hit the enemies, like the cone is pretty wide, but the range is just not very wide. And there's also an issue: if enemies are higher up or below you, you will just miss them. But it's a very useful ability, and I will explain a little bit more about it later. But there's one more thing about it. It also reflects projectiles for a very short second or something, a short moment, I mean. And it extends burn duration for 2 seconds. So if I just knock someone back, the burn, like there won't be any burn, but if there's a burn effect on the enemy already, it will get extended by 2 seconds. Then we have the Napalm. It's a firewall on the ground. Well, it just applies 1 second of burning every second. It's a fire field that you can use for some finishers, but overall that ability is not great either. There aren't too many uses, but I'm going to talk about it a tiny bit more later. And then we have the Smoke Vent. It's an AoE blind. It has a super short radius. Let's see if I can hit him from here. Yeah, that's about the max range of it. Like, you can't hit a much wider range. This is a very useful skill, and it's especially useful because you can use it all the time, even if you're stunned, which makes this really good. In the start, when this got changed, back then it was a different ability. All the way back then when the game came out, it was a flamethrower pull. I think it was even before beta, I'm not even sure. It used to pull enemies, and it was really sick. But yeah, then they changed it to the AoE blind, and I hated it. But nowadays I actually like it. I mean, it's not as great as the skill before, but it can be really useful if you know how to use it. I'm going to explain a few things about that later as well. Then we have Incendiary Ammo. It makes your next 3 attacks apply burning. I'm just gonna show it to you. So you activate it, you can see this little thingy down there, the icon that you have it activated, and then you can attack, attack, attack. Bam, 17 seconds of burning. And it deals a lot of damage. It's amazing. It's so good for condition builds. Even for power builds it can be good, because the burning still deals a good amount of damage. As you can see though, with condition builds it just drops the enemy quite low. And it's really, really good. The thing about it is, though, if you dodge the ability, the stack will be gone. So you will just, if the enemy dodges all your 3 abilities, all your 3 stacks, I mean, if you have it activated and the next 3 attacks get dodged, it just doesn't hit at all. Like, your incendiary ammo will be gone and you won't hit a burning. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about some advanced uses. So some people said that Flamethrower 1 isn't that great, and yeah, I agree, it's not super useful in many situations, you just don't fit it into everything. Like, you can't just use it all the time. But there are many situations where you can use it. So for example, it hits through walls, which is insanely powerful. So I can pull this Elementalist here, and I can just run around this pillar, and I can just hit him through the wall, and so the Elementalist just bursts in here. And that's really useful. Also, the Flamethrower 3 also knocks back through walls, which is important to note. So I'm just gonna disengage here for a second. So that's one thing, which is really amazing. Another special thing about this ability is it's a big strength of this ability, but it can also be a weakness. It hits many times. So it allows you to get your burn proc, for example, more reliably. So this inflicts burning on a critical hit. I hit this guy 10 times with my flamethrower. The chance that I crit within those 10 times is super high. So me getting an incendiary powder proc here is just pretty much guaranteed. So that's really useful. If you really want to get a proc off or something, you can just use that. But at the same time, it can be dangerous, because if enemies run retaliation, you will get hit by retaliation every single tick. Like, every time when you hit the enemy with the flamethrower, you will get hit by retaliation. So you can get melted pretty quickly by it. So watch out for that. But not just that. If a Guardian, for example, or an Elementalist activates an ability which blocks the next 3 attacks, it can be really powerful in most cases and prevent a lot of damage. But if you use your flamethrower just for a second, it's gonna remove all those stacks instantly. And that's just really great. But there's one more thing which is really amazing with the Flamethrower 1. If you activate your Incendiary Ammo, the next 3 attacks will apply burning, just as I said. So look at this. I didn't even finish my casting time. I just applied the full burn duration within a split second. And that's also the same time that you need to break a 3 block shield. So if you know that your enemy won't be able to avoid your damage for a split second, you can activate your Incendiary Ammo, and you can just stack a 17 seconds burning on him within a split second. It's dangerous though. If he manages to avoid it, if he manages to dodge during that split second, all stacks will be gone. But yeah, that's just some experience that you need. If you know that the enemy has no condition removal, no block, no dodge or anything that he's going to use, hit him with that. It's especially useful against Mesmers, because Mesmers usually don't run much condition removal. If you can see them, maybe out of stealth or something, you can apply a really long burning right away, and it's gonna screw them up. They're in the defensive right away. That's really useful. Okay, Flame Blast, just as I said, there isn't too much to talk about it. It's not an amazing ability for a conditioned build, so I'm not going to talk about it. Air Blast, which makes this flamethrower really good. Just as I said, it extends the burn duration. So it's actually Flamethrower 1 combined with Air Blast is really good for unbunkering people. Like, you can just channel a full flame jet and hit the last tick on your enemy, and then you can extend it with Air Blast by 2 seconds. So you will get like a bit more than 3 seconds burning with this, which is pretty good. And this combo especially is really useful for unbunkering Guardians. I was running, I used to run Flamethrower with bombs and no grenades, and I had trouble unbunkering Guardians, like dealing damage to them actually. So what I found out is just spamming Flamethrower 1 instead of Pistol 1 deals more damage to Guardians. It also gets rid of that shield right away and all their other blocks. It's just way better. Because, like, if he just blocks, like, they have so many blocks, and if he just blocks that tiny tick of a Flamethrower, that's not gonna do much compared to a full auto attack block on my pistol. But yeah, Air Blast is also amazing because it's a 15-second cooldown knockback. You can use it to survive a lot longer, like it takes a lot of pressure from you. If you just switch to it every 15 seconds, that's important. Just use it on cooldown if you're in a fight. It takes a lot of pressure away from you because during that time he can't damage you. It doesn't seem very long, but it is pretty long. Like, that's a lot of time. You get like one extra auto attack and he gets one auto attack less, you know, or one skill less. And during that time, your conditions tick on the enemy, and the enemy can't put pressure back on you. So that's really good. And there's also another thing about the air blast which is pretty useful. Just as I said in the start, if I would try to knock someone back who's sitting up here, I would not hit him if I would just stand here. So what you can do, you can press the air blast and then jump right after. It has a short cast time, even though it says it doesn't, and so the cast will happen while you're mid-air. You can't use the ability, like you can't jump and then use the ability. You need to use air blast and then jump. And then you will use it pretty much at their max height, like when you jump. And if you do that, like I would use it here, up, and then I can actually knock this guy back who's sitting up here. That's especially useful in Clock Tower, for example. If someone's sitting on the node on Clock Tower, you can just jump up when you're sitting below and knock him off. It's also nice to knock people off the outside of Clock Tower. It's very useful, and it's also useful on Forest, for example. If someone's sitting up there on the castle, on Keep, I mean. Is it called Keep? I think it's called Keep, yeah, sorry. You can also just jump there and knock someone off. And we have Napalm. Well, Napalm, the only situations where I actually use this is when I have absolutely nothing else to do and I can just throw something. When I'm kiting away, for example, and I have nothing to throw back, like you can just cast this behind you, which is useful. If I'm running away, sometimes you just can't do anything, like you can't attack with your pistol backwards. So Napalm can be useful to just get like one tick on your enemy or something like that. It's not gonna make a huge difference, but it's a tiny thing that you can do. And I use it on downed players. Like I just throw it on a downed player when I see someone, and it's just gonna tick for the full duration there. So yeah, that's the most useful thing. Then we have Smoke Vent. Yeah, it's a AoE plant. You can use it whenever, like even when you're stunned and something like that. So for example, if an elementalist updrafts you, you're laying on the ground, you can activate this right before his burst comes in, you know? And sometimes you hit a fire grab with it, or I don't know, a phoenix, or you prevent a, how's it called? That flame fire tooth thingy, dragon's tooth, that's how it's called. That's a lot of damage you can prevent there. And yeah, especially if you don't run a stun breaker, this can prevent some pretty big damage if you just use it at the right time. But also, like, just switching to this if you're in a melee fight with someone, switching to this every 20 seconds and just using it right away, that's just... Blinds are really powerful. That's just one ability that the enemy is going to miss. That's one global cooldown. That's 1 second wasted of him, at least. So, if you just manage to hit this, like, you won't even waste one of your global cooldowns, which makes it so powerful. So I can hit this, can switch over, and bam, you know? Like, actually, fat fingered there and also hit my air blast. But yeah, you can, like, you can use your ability, switch to your flamethrower, and while you have a global cooldown, you can use Smoke Vent instantly, and then switch back to something else and use another global cooldown, you know? And that's just a free ability in between, which prevents an ability from your enemy, and it's just really powerful. It can also be used as an AoE skill, obviously, so you might even prevent more than that. Might even prevent multiple abilities with it. And about Incendiary Ammo, well, most of the time I just use it on max range. If I can't... like, Enchies have trouble at being kited. Like, if I use bombs, for example, they're only good if I kite people. I can't force enemies to run into my bombs. If they run away from me, I can't hit them with it. So, Incendiary Ammo is a powerful tool to just apply a little bit more poke damage, a little bit more damage on ranged. It's gonna help you a lot. Yeah, well, it's just really powerful. It's only on 60 seconds cooldown too, and... Invigorating! I'm a big fan of it. But there's one more thing I needed to mention. Let's kill this elementalist real quick. And then I'm going to show you another trick, which is pretty widely known already, but still, some people might not know it yet. If I kill this Elementalist, he will go into downstate, and then I can start stomping, and I can switch to my Flamethrower and use my blind while stomping. So, on an Elementalist, of course, it's not going to be too useful, but the NPCs wouldn't use abilities on me anyway. But if I would use it on an Engineer, for example, in downstate, they can throw this hook to interrupt you from stomping, you know? And if you stomp him and switch to your Flamethrower, you can blind while you're stomping. That means you can blind right before he throws that hook at you, and you can prevent him from interrupting your stomp. That's a very powerful tool. It helps against engineers, it helps against guardians, it helps against warriors, and it helps against guardians. Did I say guardians already? I think so. I don't know. Whatever. You guys get the idea. Also helps against rangers, actually. But it's pretty hard to use against rangers because their cast time is like super fucking quickly. But yeah. That's Flamethrower. I absolutely love this toolkit. I mean this kit. It's really useful. It's especially very useful for unbunkering, obviously. It's really good in 1v1s. It gives you a lot of utility, it gives you some good damage. It's just a very good kit. It gets underestimated a lot, but nowadays unbunker engineers run it a lot, like those tank engineers that just run to nodes to unbunker stuff. So what you normally do with Flamethrower, you go to far node and you just fight there and you try to knock back your enemy with the air blast. And then you can get him off the node and you might get a neutralize and then you might win the 1v1 and it's a huge thing for you on the map. It allows you to get a lot of pressure on the map. But yeah, that's about it. That was my third daily. I'm very open to feedback still. I'm really happy with the feedback that I got so far for this series. I'm going to continue doing it. I will probably do about 5 videos per week. I will try to keep up 5 videos per week. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to your feedback about this, how you guys like it. So, see you guys tomorrow.